Well, good morning, everybody. It's Matthew here. It's probably good afternoon in New Zealand, seeing as here in Queensland we don't have daylight saving much anymore. Well, don't have daylight saving at all. It's Saturday, the 17th of October, and today we're doing a live data sheet review. Peter's got a bit of a pretty full card and what he wants to talk about in regards to today being a big day in racing, and also we're going to, of course, as always, field questions. So, good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Matt, and good morning to everybody, and also good afternoon to our Kiwi attendees. And I hope you are geared up for a big weekend of thoroughbred racing and also rugby union.
Well, rugby union, or as if in New Zealand they call it, religious observance.
Yeah, well, it is really. It's fundamentally.
All right
Um,
then. Well, look, just a
I
couple
hope.
of quick housekeeping things. Some of you may have received emails from the TAB in regards to their rapid bet service being decommissioned. We are fully on top of that. The TAB are speaking with me openly and are dealing with us in a very nice way. They are shutting down, so better data is being decommissioned, and so is Rapid Bet. The TAB are putting the final, dotting the I's and crossing the T's with the contracts. They will be charging for their service, which will be the only service in town. But I have had a number of assurances that will be faster than better data, with all the same benefits of backfilling and things like that. So our programmer is we're investing once again a substantial amount of money into programming to get that working for you, and the TAB are working with our programmers, which is a lovely change. You know, over the years, the long-term clients have been on here would remember that the TAB often will advertise one thing and do another, but they seem to be well under control at the moment with their plans and how they're going to roll out their new data feed. So I just Brian's just asked. I've got one question here. Brian, when can we load Windows 10? Brian, quite a few customers are using Windows 10, so um, I don't see. Obviously, if you want to, if you're desperate to get Windows 10, just email Chris and ask the question. But I was using Windows 10 for a bit on a different computer. My computer decided to have a moment and needed to go off to the shop, but I was using Windows 10, and that's not the issue. The issue was a Wi-Fi adapter. So Windows 10 is good to go, depending on your computer, Brian. So check with what you're dealing there with your make and model. So look, so just in regards to data, I'm very excited, and I'm very excited because the TAB are enthusiastically moving towards delivering a better service than we've ever had before, more accurate service, and for all comments and conversations so far, it will be quite a bit cheaper than subscription data, which is good news. So as I said, I'll give you more information as it comes to hand. But I am in conversation with them on a week-to-week basis, and of course, our programmer is in conversation with them on almost a daily basis to make sure that everything is under control there. So, Peter, really, we're not here to listen to me waffle on. So, Peter, over to you. I know we've got a bit of a full card today.
Yes, Matt. What I'm going to do is I'm going to review the data from the selections from Thursday of this week, and we'll go through the selections, and then I'm going to talk more about referral to percentage return as a very valid and useful tool to help confirm trifecta opportunities that are, worthy opportunities to participate in, and in lots of instances, successful opportunities to participate in. I think it's something that perhaps I would encourage people to use as a ritual now. Use the percentage return referral as a sort of a definitive confirmation of the quality and worth of a trading opportunity. And then at the end, Brian obviously preempted me a little bit because he I indicated that today was Caulfield Cup Day, which is a big day in the racing calendar. I'm going to talk about, not specifically about Caulfield Cup, but I suppose milestone events in Australian racing, and how you can possibly general familiarity with those can maybe in some instances assist with a responsible trading outlook. So let's get underway, and we'll go through the selections, and then I'll go back and talk more about the referral to percentage return and point out why I think it's quite a sensible thing to introduce as a standard practice. The first opportunity of the day was indeed this one here, which is a trifecta opportunity. As we can see, just 1 minute here, I'll just bring this down, and really these should be going down to the bottom like that. Okay, now this was a trifecta. Wait a minute, what have I done here? That's better. Okay, now this was a trifecta opportunity that came about because we have applied 2 allowances to create it. We have introduced an allowance for second place, percentage allowance, as you can see. Now I know that that's not quite 67.5%, but it's so close to it, and as you can see, the level of market support for these runners comparative to the ones underneath is so strong that it justified making that small concession on the percentage. I mean, normally we start with a minimum percentage of 67.5 with a minimum 1.7 or bigger money gap, defining money gap. But I think you could see the worth in making that very small concession. And if we go back to the 2 minute mark, you can see that the top 3 runners were defined by a 1.63 money gap and holding only 63.95% of the money. All of a sudden, at the 1 minute mark, they're holding 67.38% with a 2.12 money gap. So that's an enormous increase in money gap definition, which highlights the strength of the money support. And indeed, the money support has been strong all the way along, relatively speaking, from here, increasing here and culminating in a big effort here. So I think more than justified to consider making that allowance. And of course, third place was brought down to number 4, covering 90% of the money to a multiple of 1.3 or bigger, given that the money on the lower runners was next to negligible. So that gives us 48 combinations to get us going. Okay, moving on to the next one. Now I guess here we'd start out by making money gap selections that would cover the top 3 runners for first and second. But of course, doing the colour band review, which is always recommended as a final activity when considering trifecta opportunities, we can see that there is justification for the addition of runner 4 here, because we've got runner 4 attracting more money at the 1 minute interval than runner 6. So therefore, the selections for first and second have been brought down to runner 4. So it's 4 runners first, 4 runners second, and of course down to runner 5 for the basic 90% coverage for third, and a small pool concession. So we've made an allowance, we've made an additional allowance here, and we've, in recognition of the fact that there is clearly defined strength of money for these top 4 runners in particular, and the bulk of the trading activity extends down to runner 5. I mean, there's next to nothing being directed at these 2 runners here. I think that is pretty clearly defined as a strong optimal opportunity here with the selections that have been created, and so discretion has been taken to make a pool allowance, given that we're so close to $5,000 minimum. It's not funny. All right, so we go to the next one, which is a percentage return, and one of our stalwarts here, you know, strong favourite, 2 runners in the group, defined by a separator that's considerably bigger than 1.7. The group of 2 holding more than 47.5% of the cumulative money. Clear-cut cumulative dominance, money dominance here. Clear-cut 1-minute dominance. In fact, all the way along, it's sort of setting itself up for a one of the ideal percentage return betting opportunities. And on top of that, we have number endorsement in the WUP column for both our runners, and negative values for both our runners in the update difference column. And notice that the only runners that are showing a negative trend in win dividend are the runners chosen in the group 6 and 1. All the rest from runner 7 down are showing positive values. So that sort of indicates the strength of money support for those top 2 runners. I mean, more than 50% of the money, more than half the money, have been directed at 6 and 1. So more than valid to consider that as a strong percentage return opportunity. That was, not surprisingly, successful. Okay, we go to the next one, and this is pretty standard, I think. Once again, we're looking at a possible percentage allowance for second, 68.17% covered, and a 1.91 money gap. Now, some people, alert people, might look at this and say, well, why didn't you sort of take this into account? But I will deal with this as when we go back through these trifecta selections with referral to percentage return in a minute. So that gives us 36 combinations in this particular instance. Okay, moving on to MRO5. Now, just ruled out as a trifecta based on the dollars on top combination breach here, but in percentage return, another standard opportunity where we're selecting the favourite, the strong favourite, and one other runner. Once again, these 2 runners holding more than 50% of the money together. A large separator defining the group here. You've got, you know, clear-cut cumulative dominance here. Very strong money support for the 2 runners at the 1-minute interval, and pretty much all the way along. Well, certainly here, not so much here, but all the way along, even in a slightly staggered way, the money support has been concentrated on those 2 runners, and of course, hence the cumulative tallies here that in support of that. So once again, another worthy trading opportunity and percentage return, trading with 2 runners in the group. And yes, and once again, another winning opportunity. Okay, we go down to another percentage return, and yet another trifecta rather, where we're applying the second place percentage allowance, 67.59%, held by the top three runners. The top three as a group defined by quite a large money gap here, and you can see clearly that the money dominance is for those three runners all the way back, right back to here. Very clear indeed. So relatively speaking, most of the money action is being devoted to these three runners, so therefore it more than justifies making that percentage concession and selecting the top three runners for first and the top three runners for second, and of course the full 90% coverage down to number 9 for third, giving us 30 combinations in total. Now we go to BR06, and this was a trading opportunity in trifecta, just basic money gap selections, 50% to a red money gap first, down to runner 3 for second, as we can see, 70%, and of course down to the lower money gap for third place, creating 48 combinations. I think if you look over here, you can see quite clearly that those basic selections certainly well and truly accommodate the prevailing money profile, certainly at the 1 minute interval and even back at the 2 minute interval. And if we go to percentage return, we can see yet another opportunity where we're going to cover the top two runners for first, and this is just a facsimile of the other two, even a bit stronger, I think. The two runners together holding 53.14%, so you know that in itself is a strong endorsement of the strength of money for those two runners. Huge separator defining the group, and so that just highlights the cumulative strength of money to be seen here. And look at the money support for these two runners at the 1 minute interval relative to the rest of the field. I mean, it just stands out. And here again, we've got numerical support in the WUP column for the two runners, with one of the runners showing quite strongly negative. So another percentage return opportunity, and so this race produced a double opportunity to trade. And then the final opportunity was
Hey Pete, can
this
I just
one,
interject
and
you
yet
for a second,
again,
please?
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to know, just get a quick poll. Who is using the percent return as a backup for placing trifecta bets? You know, we've been taught we were shown that over the last couple of years, and we've integrated that into our training, and it's been proving to be a very good indicator as almost a seventh rule. I just want to know, is anybody, you know, just let me know, are people actually using that and finding value there?
Yeah, well, I'm going to go back now. That's interesting that you've raised that issue, and it will be interesting to see if people are using it. But I want to go through.
I'm on Terry's Mac computer at the moment because mine's having as I said earlier, a thing, and I have lost the question box. So I just give me a moment.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh dear. So everybody keep answering. I will be with you in a second. Okay, figured it out. All right. Okay. So yeah, there's some people actually. So Linda is definitely using it. Malcolm's always using it. Bruce is using it for exactas. That's interesting. Richard's been doing that for a while now. David, yes. Steve, Stan, great. Okay, so we're actually seeing quite a lot of people who are now saying, and Abraham's obviously using it after seeing Chris Roberts' webinar. And Bruce is saying he's making money throughout the week now. Ray is yes, yes, yes. Goodness me. I always commence with percent return before I look at trifecta or exactas, says Chris Roberts. That's interesting. So, Chris, just answer me this. Do you default the program to sit on percent return? Is that how you start? Let me just. Yep. So Chris is saying that. So he actually defaults the program to sit at percent return to create that basis. Lots of people here are saying he's using it for exactas and things like that. I've created a monster here. I can't keep up with all the answers. Let me just do this. Okay. So Eric, just one question I've got from Eric here, Pete, and it does raise questions every now and then. I just wanted to reinforce it. Why do we have a red indicator in percent return and this one we're looking at here at 30%? This is Peter wants to look at the program, wants to be told and brought to the front when there is a strong favourite. I see red in the early days means don't trade, but as you go through this, and as we've moved towards using percent return and betting with the favourite more often, we have left it there as a red indicator, but it does just indicate when there is a strong favourite over 25%. Now, just as an example, I personally have gone ahead and removed that rule. I want it to be green between 25 and 50. So when I see that it's green, I'm okay. It actually goes red when it's below 25. Let's just remember, this is Pete's program we're looking at here. This is how we teach the basic rules, and then going beyond that, you can set the program up however you choose. Would that be accurate, Pete?
Yeah, well, I guess why I've left it like that, and so that I can strong favourites can be identified, is to differentiate between weak and strong favourites. Given that the difference between them is that with strong favourites, we include those without fail in any groups that we select to trade with. Weak favourites can be traded against if the indicators stack up in favour of that. I mean, in most instances, favourites are added to groups now in percentage return, but there are a reasonable number of opportunities where trading against the weak favourite produces a positive result. And so I just feel that by leaving or identifying a favourite that's a strong favourite, we isolate it from those that are considered weak. Because if we see a weak favourite, we say, well, there's a possibility I'd be adding the favourite to a group, but there's also a possibility I might be able to trade against it. If it's a strong favourite, such as this, we know that there's only one option to take, and that's that any group that we select must include that strong favourite. And that's the reason.
Yeah, so Eric, if you're not sure about anything, thank you for asking the question. And because other people, I bet of the 40 or so people that are here, other people might be thinking that. So, I love these questions, and because it actually gives us the opportunity to go a bit deeper and unpack some of the information that's stored in Pete's head. And, excuse me, bit of a cough there. So unpack the information that's in Pete's head. So please do ask the questions and do dive in. Oh, by the way, Brian, Merv and a couple of others and Leon have both said that their program is working fine on Windows 10. So go for it.
All right. Okay. So let's go back. I want to go back over this business about using the referral to percentage return, and talk a little bit about why it could be construed as being justified, and probably the way to use it as a valid confirmation of genuine trading opportunity. Now, If we go to AR01, we had our defining, the defining money gap for the group for first and second in trifecta was 2.12. When we go to percentage return, notice that the associated separator is bigger, right? So 2.12 money gap, 2.30 separator. Now that in itself, when the separator, I suppose the relevant separator, or in percentage return, is bigger than the associated money gap in trifecta, that is what I consider to be a positive endorsement. And particularly when we're working out what we're going to single out for first place. If we go to AR02, this is an interesting one. Looking at it in trifecta, applying the additional allowance technique, of course, we'd be, there's no question about adding number 4, but that's reinforced when we go to trifecta, because when we go to trifecta, or go to percentage return, this separator gets smaller, whereas this new defining separator for first place gets bigger. We go back to trifecta, it's 1.69 here, it's 1.72 in percentage return. The original defining money gap in trifecta was 1.60, in percentage return it's 1.54. So the original defining money gap, the separator associated with the original defining money gap has got smaller, and the new separator that's defining the group has got bigger. So once again, there's that increase that reinforces the choice of selection. And if we go to the next one, defining separator, defining money gap. I'm getting mixed up between separators and money gap. Defining money gap in trifecta, here, 1.91. We go to percentage return, bigger separator at 2.02. Moving to the next one. 2.15 defining money gap, 2.74 separator. Once again, a bigger defining separator in percentage return than the equivalent defining money gap in trifecta. And I think if we go back here again, or there was one earlier, but I'm not sure. Where was the one that MR04? I'm mostly, I suppose, isolating the separators and money gaps that ultimately define first place selections. But it can be an endorsement. You can use the same sort of process and recognition to, I suppose, confirm minor placing selections as well. As you can see here in trifecta, we've got a 3.02 money gap defining the third place selections down here, and then all of a sudden we go to percentage return, it's 4.74. So there again, there's that consistency in sort of the increase equivalent separator size. And I think that that's a useful tool that can be employed. If you look, if you're looking to confidently choose your final selections in trifecta, you can use that sort of ultimate test in percentage return. Is the defining money gap in trifecta, is the defining money gap for the group I'm considering in percentage return, is the separator bigger than the equivalent defining money gap in trifecta mode. And if it is, I think that that is the sort of endorsement that should be looked for.
That's great, Pete. Thank you for going in such depth with that. That's, I guess that's why we're here, to really, as I said, do ask the questions and we can go really deep on stuff. I know that some of you might be knowing this, but it doesn't hurt to see it a few hundred times. And we've certainly been making some very good money over this month, and certainly last month with the program using mainly the trifecta side, haven't we, Pete?
Yeah, absolutely. And let's go and have a look at the results on this day. And as you can see, this particular trifecta was successful. This one was successful. This one was successful. This one was successful. And it was only the final one, BR06, the one where we had both percentage return and trifecta, that wasn't successful. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 out of 5 ain't bad in my book.
Not at all. That's right. And last Saturday was pretty impressive as well. So, we're seeing some really great results with the trifectas, and the more ways you can confirm your investment in each one of them just gives us a higher level of I guess confidence when placing these trades, right?
Yes, and I think it certainly highlights the worth of getting adept at trading in trifectas. As I've said before, a lot of people sort of tend to shy away from them, and I have over the years sort of experienced sort of negativity towards betting with trifectas, and I've had to deal with the fallacious thinking of some people that trifectas never win. Well, I mean, there's nothing too miraculous was done here to create these combinations, and
I can't imagine anybody having that position at the moment, Pete. Certainly the last 6 months has been a real, a very, very successful time with trifectas. And I guess that's the thing, trifectas and percent return do weigh each other out. When trifectas are going really well, like now, percent return might just drop a few little points. And then on the other side, when percent return is very strong, trifectas may soften a little bit. But overall, we're seeing a very consistent level of cash come in with the program, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. No question. So without any shadow of doubt, it behoves people to get adept at and confident in trading trifecta. No question.
Very good.
And certainly that aim can be assisted by using percentage return in the manner that's been demonstrated today, and the manner that a lot of clients are already doing. Now, I just wanted to talk, as today is Caulfield Cup Day, which is a major racing day in the spring racing calendar down in Melbourne. And it's sort of a preamble to the big one, which is the Melbourne Cup, of course, coming up in a couple of weeks' time. And it started me thinking, and of course, I think it's probably not a bad idea for clients to consider becoming generally familiar with races that are major events in the racing calendar in Australia. Now, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that you go out and try to get intricately engaged in the processes of thoroughbred racing. But what I'm suggesting is that you keep yourself aware in a general kind of way of certain milestones, I suppose, in the racing calendar in Australia, particularly events like the Spring Carnival down in the southern state of Victoria. I guess too, there is the Autumn Carnival in Sydney, featuring or centring in I suppose Randwick would be the showpiece there, And you've got, I suppose, to a slightly lesser degree, the winter carnival in Brisbane. But certainly the spring carnival is I suppose, the major racing event period in the racing calendar in Australia. And it's what that the standard of racing that is brought to bear during those times. When you have a major day like Caulfield Cup Day, for instance, or I mean, I can't think of Golden Slipper Day and all these sorts of things. Generally, because of the quality of fields that are presenting, there's a much higher standard of thoroughbred performing in the big events on those major days, and so that would tend to suggest that trifecta betting is probably not going to be the primary form of betting, certainly towards the middle and latter part of the day, because the quality of fields are such that it means that the betting becomes very even, and so it would tend to suggest that trifectas probably aren't going to be to the fore in our trading activities on those days. Percentage return would probably come more to the fore. And if we're going to have any sort of worthwhile trifecta opportunities to consider, it's going to be earlier in the day. So if you were to have a bit of early success with trifecta, you might like to take that into account and be very circumspect about trading trifecta in the latter stages of the day, particularly if the betting is very even. And indeed, you might not have many opportunities to trade in anyway. So, by just being generally aware of what activities are forthcoming in the racing calendar, it can sometimes prepare you for the possible trading outcome for that day, and I suppose make you better prepared to pick and choose the right opportunities to be of benefit to you. So it's just something to think about. I mean, I'm certainly not for 1 minute am I suggesting that you delve into the intricacies of thoroughbred racing. But it doesn't hurt to think to yourself, oh, well, it's Caulfield Cup, so, oh, gee, the Spring Carnival is now, well underway in Melbourne, and so the quality of racing is going to be better, and that might tend to colour the trading patterns on big days, such as Caulfield Cup Day. So it's, that's just an observation that may be useful.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. And and it doesn't require a lot of effort, and one can always just go onto any online news site and click on racing, and it'll tell you what's actually happening and what events are on, and just need to be aware of it.
Well, over in New Zealand, I'm sure that in the press and there would be some sort of recognition of the big days in the racing calendar in Australia, given that we've been marauded over the years by New Zealand raiders who have gone away very successful.
Very successful. And, even if they jumped on news.com.au, they could find information. And of course, also being a member of, and all of us seeing the fact that we're being members of the TAB. The TAB even email out, promotions and things like that to try to get us to remind us of these particular days. So it's not hard to, and actually all of us being members of the TAB, we're going to all be notified in some form or another, aren't we?
Yeah, and I think it also would be helpful from the point of view of you could think to yourself on a like quite a big day like Caulfield Cup, for instance. As I said, if you had a couple of early successes or an early success in trifecta, and you'd made a nice you've got to wait to a profitable start. On the distinct possibility that the middle and on the distinct possibility that later on in the day there's not going to be all that many opportunities to trade in anyway, it might prompt you to think, well, blow it, I've made a certain level of profit up to this point, why should I go on now and possibly find an isolated trading opportunity that might reduce the profit I've already made.
Right.
These are just the sort of ideas and considerations that you can toss around, and it may be of use in determining the cut-off point or the ideal cut-off point on any given day.
Yeah, very good.
As far as so
excellent. So, are there any comments or thoughts from the from anybody out there? Just jump in if you want to. Cause this is interactive. Happy to answer any questions. So, Pete, have you got any more races you want to show us at the moment, or are you?
No, Matt. No. I wanted to basically show that, particularly on this day, the consistency of not only with regards to trifecta, in each of those opportunities where the separator increased, we had a successful outcome. Now, the outcome that was not successful, once again, the separator, there was that separator increase in percentage return, which justified trading in the manner we did. I'm not suggesting that in every situation there's going to be a winning outcome if the separator increases in size over and above the equivalent money gap in trifecta. But if you consistently use that as a confirming indicator, I think you're going to be successful many more times than you'll be unsuccessful.
Yeah, that's great. Very cool. Okay.
And I think, yes. So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about today.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Well, look, thank you very much, Pete. Another great webinar. Sorry, I've been a bit quiet today. I'm getting a bit of a cough, and so I have to keep muting myself to actually do that. So, if there's no more questions from the crowd, should we call it a day on that one, Pete? And by the way, everybody, please do collect the data today. It's all like I find it very entertaining to go ahead and see the amount of money that's actually going to be traded throughout the day, and especially on the Melbourne and Sydney races. That's going to be really entertaining, really interesting. See $10,000 being placed in a minute, that sort of stuff. Whilst we might not actually trade in the actual Caulfield Cup, we will certainly find lots of opportunities throughout the day. And as I say to people before they buy the program and throughout this, it's about being a sniper, not a machine gunner. So really choose the trades that you want to do, and then execute on that properly. And once you've achieved your result, you don't have to keep firing. You've made your whatever your daily goal is, whether it be 500 or 1,000 or even $200. Once you've achieved that result that's in line with your goals, then call it a day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would heartily endorse that.
Very good. All right then. Well, look, thank you very much for taking some time away on your Saturday, and hopefully that's given you the ramp up and the G up to get on the program today. Last time we did this, the 2 weeks ago on the Saturday was an extraordinarily good day. And let's see if we can continue to carry that forward.
Yeah, just one final thing, Matt. I did make comment about this particular race here, where people might look at that amount of money and think, well, why was making the percentage allowance justified? But if you go to percentage return, look at the strength of cumulative money for those top three runners.
Yeah, right.
Over the rest of the field. So, and that's sort of very much, I get, was best confirmed by that increase in sort of equivalent separator location. So that certainly, that indicator there, that cumulative indicator, would tend to well and truly override the fact that there's a slight sort of equivalence of money here in trifecta mode.
Thank you for going into
And
that. That's I love the fact that you stay the course and you want to make sure any questions do get answered throughout these webinars. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I hope that that has provided some small benefit to somebody that's taken the trouble to join in to the webinar today, and we always endeavour to make them a little bit different each time and interesting, and I hope we've achieved that today.
Very good.
And may I also just make a comment too, Matt? All these webinars that we do are recorded, so you can go back and review the information at some other time, at some later date. And of course, people who can't attend, of course, can refer to those recordings in the support portal.
Absolutely.
So,
so I'll I'll get this up on YouTube today and then email it over to Chris, and he'll drop it into the support portal, so it's all there.
Oh, that's great. All right, well, that's pretty much it for me today. I just want to thank everybody once again for their taking the trouble to attend, and I certainly hope that once again you've got some benefit
Very
out
good.
of today's.
I'm sure I already have. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah, you take care, Matt, and have a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.